Okay, so now we are going to continue with this one. Okay, it's still in the subtopic of unweighted index number. Okay, so we have fixed base and chain base. Okay, let's see, we are not just having 1 year or 2 years data. We have a few years or a few periods kind of price or kind of quantity data. So we can actually see the changes that happen from one period to another period by having or by calculating the index number. Okay, so we have two methods. Okay, so this is more about the methods lah. Okay, either we want to choose the fixed base method or the chain base method. Okay, when we are saying that it is a fixed base method, fixed base method meaning we are using the same base period for all the periods that we are trying to calculate. For example, we have the data from the year 2010 until 2020. So we are using 2010 as our base period. So all the calculation for every year would be using the same base period of 2010. That is what we understand from the method of fixed base. Okay, so meaning we are using just one base period for all the calculation of index number for every year. Okay, it is not the same as chain base method. For chain base method, of course the base period will not be the same for every year. We are using, okay, the word chain meaning it can also be the word link. Okay, chain or link are the same, which means that we are using the period before as the base period. Okay, for example, let's say we have the year 2010 until 2020. The calculation of, the data from 2010 until 2020. So for you to calculate 2010, you cannot calculate for 2010 because you don't have any data earlier than that. So you just ignore your first 2010 punya index number. So you continue with 2011. So for 2011, you will be using 2010 as the base period. Okay, that is the calculation for 2011. For 2012, you are not using 2010 anymore. You will be using 2011 as the base period. 2012 using 2011 as the base period. 2013 will be using 2012 as the base period. So that is what we call as chain base method. Chain meaning it will be using the one preceding, okay, the one preceding the period. Okay, the base period will be changing, but changing based on what is before the period that we are calculating. Okay, so that is for fixed base and chain base. Okay, so the last part of this unweighted index number is this one, which is changing base method. Change. Okay, so it is not the same as chain. Chain is link. This one is change. Okay, let's say you have already your index number, but you want to change your index number to using something else as your base period. Okay, so you can change your index number by having index number of current divided by index number of base times by 100. Okay, we'll be seeing the example of changing base method in the module after this. Okay, we are now trying to explain about chain-based method. Okay, so I'm using self-test 8 as the example to explain about this, right? So we have two companies index number over here. The profit of company A and company B expressed in index number are given below. So you can see that this is not all the price or quantity anymore. These are all the index numbers. Okay, so for index number, okay, for company A, we have the data from 2010 until 2015. But for company B, we have the data from 2012 until 2015. Okay, so for us to do any comparison between these two company, for example, for this case, for these two company, how to compare? okay, it will be very difficult for us to compare their performance in terms of their profit if we are just letting that data or that index number as what we have here. Because if you look at company A, from what we understand here, we can see that it might be using 2010 as the base period, okay, because the value of index number is 100 for the year 2010 for company A. But for company B, okay, we are not having value of 100 in any of these in any of these index number given. Okay, so we do not know actually the calculation of this index number that we have for company B is using which year as the base period. Okay, so therefore they are actually maybe having different base for company A and company B. Okay, company A might be referring to 2010 as the base period, but company B, we do not know which year that they are using as the base period. So for us to compare, it is not going to be a fair one. Okay, so that is why the question asks, for any comparison to be meaningful, you are required to change the base period of the index number to 2012. Okay, why is it 2012? Okay, if we are saying that we still want to use 2010 as the base period, it is going to be unfair for company B. Company B don't have any data yet for 2010 and 2011. So the very first year that we have the data for both, the index number for both is for the year 2012. So that is why we need to use the very first year having both data for company A and company B. So how do we calculate this? Okay. Right, how do we calculate this? For example, I'm using this example now. So company A, we said that just now the formula is current divided by this one, kan? Current divided by base. The index number of current divided by index number of base times by 100. So for company A, okay, if we are using 2012 as the base period, meaning all the index number that we have here, we need to divide by index number of current that we have here, need to divide by the value of 150. That is for company A. All the index number that we want to calculate over here will be using 150 as the base period, meaning all this will be divided by 150. And for company B, all the index number that company B have here will be using 120 as the base period. The base value of index number. Okay, so all the index number here will be divided by 120. So that is for company B. So company A will be dividing by 150, but company B will be dividing by 120. Okay, so that is how you change your index number to a new index number based on the question given. Okay, so how do we decide to have which company has greater profit? Okay, so we are going to compare what we have for company A and company B. Normally we will be seeing, or we are going to see the pattern on which one is better, which one is greater in profit on the whole. Okay, that is how we decide on which company will be having greater profit.